Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Harmonics. I am your host, Rachel Z.
And I am Aria.
Today's topic is all about
love.
Oh, yeah. So this show is pre-recorded, and you will be watching it on February 14th, which is, of course, Valentine's Day.
Indeed it is. So I don't know if you know this. I was a bit surprised to find out, but St. Valentine's was actually a cool guy. I don't know if he was born on Feb 14th or he died on Feb 14th, but he performed like hundreds and hundreds of unions and marriages that at the time the church deemed not allowed for whatever reason. So whether it was maybe people of different religious sects, like within Christianity or outside of it,
or even with different classes.
I don't know if this is actually true, but supposedly he performed gay marriages
and
he ministered love. This is the beauty of it. I love that he ministered and honored every type of love, consecrating it. And so whatever your feelings are about like the Hallmark vibe or the current consciousness of Valentine's Day, it is rooted in this really grand energy of love around this like pretty incredible person. And he met a very violent end for everything that he did. But I think it's sort of a good reason to just even within ourselves celebrate it.
That's right.
But there's a lot happening in the skies as well.
Yes, indeed. So cosmologically, as you know, we align ourselves with the cosmic clock on this show. And there's a lot of energy around Pisces.
Yes. So there is something called a three-way conjunction.
Yes, I know, that was spicy.
It was spicy. And simply, all it means is three planets are really close, kind of huddled together in the sign of Pisces. And actually, it's two planets. It's the planet Neptune. So this is our dreams, our highest illumination, our soul's dreams even, as well as the planet Venus, which is commonly associated with love, relationships, beauty. And this is not a planet, but it's an aspect. It is the north node of the moon, which a lot of people express or understand as kind of like your soul's direction. So beyond your personality or maybe the fulfillment of something that comes through. So these three are huddled together in the cosmic ocean where form bends to formlessness.
Oh yeah.
Right?
12th house, baby.
The 12th house. Energies, and that's the sign of Pisces. And in this episode's airing on Feb 14th and on Feb 18th, the sun, so our solar consciousness is also moving into Pisces.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of energy in the waters.
Oh yeah. So
what's your take on that?
Oh, my take on it. Oh my, I feel like it's very dreamlike, right? I was saying to you how it almost feels like everything is viewed through this like filter or like a mist or a haze for me, or rather dreams can feel a lot more real than what reality can feel like.
Right.
Or even sometimes I say like, well, what's the difference between a dream and a memory? Sometimes nothing really, or you remember old dreams. So I feel like this is a wonderful time to look for messages in your dreams.
Okay.
Journal your dreams. Look at dreams as like a pathway or a way by which you can learn yourself and perhaps find some answers that you may be looking for.
Oh, I love that.
What do you think?
Okay, so for me, it's a bit esoteric.
That's okay.
So
Priestess?
One of the practices that I'm working with right now around these energies or like with these energies is to see if I can actually permit myself. So that there's allowance here. Allow myself to dream different aspects of love as if they exist already. So it's like, I guess it's a style of manifestation, but you in our January episode, you were talking about like the wood snake, like the year of the wood snake, which we're in. And I was looking up something about it, and it's described as the year of double yin because the snake is yin being the feminine aspect in Chinese astrology, and wood is also a yin element. And so looking into almost looking into like the magnetic, the bottom, the depths of the ocean, the depth of the cosmic ocean where it's quieter, you don't have all of the waves and the turmoil above, and seeing what I can allow myself to dream in different aspects, in all aspects of love, and actually maybe, I want to say anchor it, but it's so watery and fluid, like you said, so it doesn't feel like anchoring, but it's like, can I be that? And then in being it, become it, And then when we move into the Aries energies, then I can, I don't know, focus on something else.
No, that's a great point. But I think what you were saying,
like pulling, it's like pulling
like
the
a current,
frequency of love. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because like in water, right, you have like currents.
Yes.
And it's not like it's encased in anything.
Correct.
Or like anchored to one spot. But it's still kind of moving as
one.
One, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like water as a conduit and like the Pisces energy as a conduit, that is highly connective, which means a lot of us are connected in synchronicities. Yeah. We're connected in like dream states. Like even just now, we were typing the show notes and the thing I was thinking, you said.
I'm like, oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah.
We're in the mind meld.
We are. And it's super fun. And to deepen that and realize that these aren't one-offs. This is actually us reaching that high soul potential of oneness. Right? That we may experience like in individuated moments, but now it's like kind of, now it's like asking us to live this way more. So that is my take on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Deep as per usual. Okay, so I'm gonna just check this. Because this is pre-recorded, I can have this.
Oh, okay.
Just to make sure all is good. I would hate for us to like, I actually forgot to press record.
Oh my God.
We do that. No, we're good.
Okay.
All right, so let's go into the juicy section.
Yes. So sit. Okay. So we're both very strong Venus signs.
Yes.
But as you're also Taurus.
Yes.
So tell me how you see love through the Venus aspect that you understand.
Oh yeah. So
the whole relationship.
Venus itself. So as everybody has a Venus placement, right? So there is intel.
What is yours?
My Venus is in Aries. Where's your Venus?
My Venus is in Gemini in the 12th house. Both of us are 12th house, which is why we're like Venus, experts on Pisces.
But something to also, I think, clarify as well is that your housing system will be personal to you, right?
Yeah. Yes. Based on your ascendant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
exactly.
The fact that our 12th house has that's why like I'm Aries Venus, but it's still the 12th house.
It's still the 12th house. And if you were curious about your Venus sign, any good astrology website, I use Cafe Astrology the most. It'll if you put in your date, time, and place of birth, it will give you your Venus sign. So you know the energies that you are working with regards to how you experience and show up in relationships.
Yes. And Venus, of course, I loved Greek and Roman myth, and her equivalent is Aphrodite, right? Yes. And the goddess of love and beauty and relationships. And so Venus, the Venus placement, being a Taurus, my husband's a Libra.
Yes.
We're both ruled by Venus. So things that have to do with like art and succulence and like warmth and like good food and like date night and bubble baths, like all of that stuff is also like Venetian vibe stuff. And we connect on that in our love on a regular basis. Ooh. But that being said though, Venus in Aries, I've noticed is very childlike in nature. So like me playing video games is a way to show love, teasing people that I love. I've noticed that that's all like kind of like Venus and Aries kind of personality types.
Yeah, what to ignite and spark and stimulate.
Exactly.
Yes,
so it's also a matter of realizing that your way of loving someone who's receiving that love may receive love in a different way. Like, for example, I don't know if Venus in Gemini means that you like professing love like with words at all. I'll let you speak to that. But as an example, let's say someone likes to receive love in the form of love notes or to be told that, but a person loves to give it in like hugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like cooking you good food, which is what a Taurus would kind of do to show love.
Right.
But it's just a matter of like realizing our different love languages and maybe perhaps how they can kind of connect. So
yes. And you know what? It's funny that you talk about love languages. When that book came out, I found the conversations people had very interesting. It was like, my love language is touch, so you need to now touch me. And I was like, I don't think that was the point of languages. Right? The point of any language is like we both learn each other's so that we can speak 5 languages.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And we can read each other. So it's and I find astrology is often maybe used in a divisive way. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that like we also wanted to include, though this episode is, probably more focused on like juicy, sexy, romantic
juicy,
love.
Sexy, lovely love.
But what influences that for so many people is our family, you know, how we learn to receive another person's love. So if you grew up in a house of abandonment or something like that,
that's true.
That is the pattern or dynamic that you learn. And unless we all do some great healing work, we just carry that alongside us, right? So warped, distorted, toxic, conditional, manipulated, transactional. We pick up all of these things as children, and then we sort of unknowingly enact it and then have experiences that entrap us or dissatisfy us, or we are trapping someone else.
True.
And that's super hard and sad. And I feel like, you know, to get to know, this was massively healing for me, to get to know and understand how my Venus and Aries play in my chart.
Gemini?
Sorry, Venus and Mars. Venus being like the feminine and Mars being the masculine, showed me how my inner masculine and feminine were, right? Yeah. And so
it's very wood snake.
It is very wood snake, and it's very woodsy, like it's very wood element. And so I use that from like the Tantra perspective. I use that as like an internal tool to learn what my inner marriage was. And I remember, actually, I went through a course this summer, and they were like, your inner feminine is meeting the inner masculine for the first time. And I was like, this is going to be a sexy date. It was not. It was like bitter bickering, like an old married couple. And I was mortified. And I'm like, oh no, if this is within me, then this is what I'm unconsciously projecting out. And so all summer I was like, all right, this needs to be healed. And now it's in a much more different place, which is amazing. But like, I've been doing this work for years. And it's this thing, right? Like you've been married for 10 years now. Rachel just celebrated, or will celebrate tomorrow.
Well, yeah. So by the time you watch this, we will already have celebrated our 10-year wedding
10-year wedding anniversary.
Yes, but we've been together for like 16 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, your marriage has changed since I've known you.
Yes,
the dynamic.
That's true.
Who you were, how you presented, who Kevin is, I didn't know him as well. And like, I find that so awesome.
Yes, because I think that is like in relationships as well, not just love relationships, because this is in friendships too. Like ours has evolved as well,
yes,
right?
It has drastically.
Yeah. But that's the thing though. Like the universe is about change.
Yes.
And there is this, when I was much more immature in love, I was I loved first love, right? I loved those stories where it's like, oh, you meet your person, like your first love. So you don't have to go through heartbreak or any of that kind of stuff, right? So
established.
You're just like this one person, I'm in love with you, and that's it. But you are not the same person you were when you were 16, right? Or 18 or 20. And it doesn't mean that you can't love the same person, but the amount of change that you go through from like 12 to like 20 is huge. And I met Kevin when I was about 13. So 13.
13.
In my psyche, I met him when I was 13. But 23 was when I met him, and he was turning 21.
Yeah.
And I'm turning 40 this year. So we've spent a lot of like time together and grown together, but you have to also have the allowance to know that like the person I'm growing into is still in love with the person he's growing into, because that soul seed is still that connection.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting what you said. And this is also a Piscean theme. Like it requires trust that you are growing different, like
you're growing, but it's together, not necessarily growing apart, which does happen too, right? As people like.
But I think when people grow apart, when some part of them, you have to keep connection alive, right?
Yes,
and I think like Venus and Aries is really good at stimulating and stoking the fires that reconnect.
Yes.
So like, even if one person, maybe at least one person, if not both, have to like bring the path.
Yeah, like have a date night.
Exactly.
Like that's what Valentine's, like, I mean, like as you were saying, like it is like a Hallmark holiday, but it is a good time to reconnect. Like, you know, if you had like a relationship that's like 10 years, like we're still going to celebrate Valentine's Day, right? Like it doesn't have to be in this like cheesy way that other people want you to, but it's not a bad thing to be like, hey, we're going to take some time out and like celebrate
and talk about our relationship, celebrate each other and who the person is. And like, I know some cool couples who like do their version of an anniversary. Like they may not have a party with their friends, but they sort of relook at their vows. They figure out what their relationship needs or is struggling with, like especially people who have kids, right?
For sure.
So much of their life force goes into their kids. So it's like, okay, on this day, we're going to like get babysitting and like figure out what our relationship needs to be nurtured and grow. And I find that such a wise and intelligent way to handle things, as opposed to getting, I mean, obviously throw a party if you want to throw a party. That's it's not instead of, but when it just becomes about that, then of course you'll be disconnected.
Show of it, right? Like the fact that you need to buy roses or you need to have this like big show of like what love is. But then again, though, if your Venus is in Leo, perhaps you do like grand shows of affection, and that's something that is important to you, and that's something to note. And whereas other people may be like, I love that you like got my car fixed for me. Yes. Right. That kind of stuff.
I learned this very weird thing that with Venus in Gemini, which is my placement, and it's very heightened in the 12th house. I actually enjoy this. I like kind of being the trickster. So like if there's a certain type of person or archetype in front of me, I'll be like, so if it's like a quiet, nerdy person, I'll be like really feisty. And if it's a feisty person, I'll be really pensive and quiet. And I act like, and it's weird. I don't know if I like it or I just do this to like, because I'm like playing in some sort of dynamic.
Do you think it's to stimulate something else in them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's exactly it's that trickster energy. It's like, right? And being like, oh, you're this? What else are you? What else are you? Because again, it's 12th house. So it can hold a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I am like, not that I'm struggling with it, but I'm like, oh, this is like a weird and interesting and like hard to put on a dating app kind of vibe that I am learning how to like enjoy actually and like exist with and like see what gifts it has.
Do you find that your Venus in Gemini influences who you find attractive?
So I go through phases for like, and like this is a super weird story, but like for the longest time, I really liked unavailable people.
That
was just a vibe.
Okay. Like, is that a Venus in Gemini thing?
No.
Or is that
it was, and I remember, I forget, I don't know if it was a Venus transit, but like something changed. And then one day I just did not find these people attractive.
That's
and
so
I shifted to like computer science engineers. And then I remember very clearly one year where that ended. And I was like, what are these odd phases? And again, it's like these like seasons of Gemini playing out. This is also when I was immature in it. So now that it's matured, it's like, it's so, you know what? It's the energy of like wild coyote woman. Like the medicine of like someone who like plays in many different aspects, many different frequencies.
Yeah.
Right?
I get that. Yeah.
And that's like, but like that's entertaining to me even by myself. So with another person, I then want to play with many of their frequencies.
Yes.
Right? So this whole like moving past the personality, which is also a very 12th house thing, being like, oh, this is your personality. Cool. But like, where's your soul? Where's your heart? Where's your fears? Where's your ancestral pattern? What's this? What's this? What's this?
All the deep stuff.
All the deep
which,
stuff.
Like, first date, not friendly.
I know. So first dates with me are like probably very intense.
You and Kevin are similar in that. Like his Mercury is in Scorpio.
His Mercury is in Scorpio.
Yeah. So anyone I think like Mercury, like my Mercury sign, actually, so I think you do also have Mercury close to Venus. So you can also look at like your planets and see like what other planets are playing close by to see what's going on. But yeah, Mercury in Scorpio, because Scorpio is very like ruled by Pluto and like the occult. And so he doesn't do small talk well.
He doesn't. So her husband and I get along really well. The first time I met him, it was like way into the depth of of something. And I'm like, I've never met this man before, but great.
But he's not interested in like what's your favorite color or like what movie you watch.
What do you do for fun? Like what?
No,
like
it's
I
more
live
just,
for
just
fun.
like how do you perceive reality?
Yes.
And like what
These are my questions.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So and how do you navigate it? What's your soul mission? Do you know like that kind of like all the like juice of stuff? But like, I'm like sometimes people need a little like
encouragement. Yeah. If you ever find me on a dating app, just FYI, these are the questions to ask me. Someone literally last week was like, so what's your hobby? And I'm like, I'm not 10. I don't have a hobby. I'm coin collecting. Like, what's up? Like, where am I?
Oh, that's an interesting. But you know what though? That's okay.
No, it's a sweet question. It's just I'm the wrong person to ask.
I think that's a good segue into like, I guess relationships.
Yes.
Different types of relationships.
Yes.
Because of course, like the love relationships, dating apps. That's a really like spicy, fun topic. But I was also, I think I talked about this before the show that I feel like our society here doesn't do a great job of telling stories about really deep friendship or platonic love where there's no like weird sexual side to it, especially with like
friends of the opposite sex
or friends of the same sex too. Like you can love someone very deeply and it doesn't necessarily need to be sexual. Yes. Even though there can be an attraction there because that person is beautiful in whatever way.
Yeah. But, and there's tenderness and there's intimacy.
Yes.
So I think in our cultures here, in North America specifically, intimacy equals like sexuality or a need for a sexual relationship. And I think people are starved of intimacy. So when they feel it, they're like, oh, this is the love of my life. And it's like, no, this is just a beautiful, intimate thing that you should celebrate without it having to mean 50 other things.
Yes. And I mean, also hormones throw a lot of like weight into that. Like I have been in many situations where like, you know, you kiss somebody and it was just because you were both drunk. Yeah. And then the next day it's like, I caught feelings and you're like, I did not. That was drunk.
Yes. The saga of unrequited love.
Yes. Actually, maybe we should go through all our little loves.
Yeah, we made a list of all of the loves. So unrequited love was one. Star-crossed lovers was another.
Thwarted love.
Okay, have you had thwarted love before? Like, it just sounds like someone gave you a poisoned apple.
Thwarted love is it's very Shakespearean, right?
Yes.
Because Shakespeare has like comedies and tragedies. And thwarted love, like I always think of
Romeo and Juliet, like politics.
Twelfth Night. Have you read Twelfth Night?
Twelfth Night, with
Viola
with the twins.
And the idea that like the girl twin dresses up as a boy twin because the Duke wants to get this woman, but then the woman loves the twin, who's a girl. Yeah, but scissor. But yes. Channing Tatum was in a movie with Amanda Bynes. She's the man. It was supposed to be a remake of Twelfth Night.
Oh.
Yeah. We should watch it.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that one. So thwarted love, platonic love, of course. Yeah, and like it's funny. So I was telling you just before the show. So in many other languages and in many other cultures, so I grew up in the Middle East. So in Arabic and Urdu, and because these are poetic languages.
Poetic key.
Yeah, but the key being poetic, right? Like symbolism, like it's not literal.
Literal.
It can be, but it's also not. So there are like 12 to 18 words that describe many phases and textures and sentiments of love.
Yes.
So if I just met you or we just made out and we have this like tingling passionate attraction, there's a word for that is different than you went away and now I'm longing for you and lamenting. And that is different than we've been married for 20 years and the cultivated, mature, like forest has grown from the seed of this love type of vibe. Yeah. And they're all different, which is why like when you read like Sufi poetry in Arabic, or maybe it comes through in English if it's a good translation, but they celebrate and they celebrate the whole range of the spectrum of love, including the parts, the madness, the oblivion, the dissolution of self because you're in union and then like coming back into the separate identity and then the loss and then the rekindling again. Yeah. Right? And like that is why like Rumi is famous. That is why we listen to these now and there's like 1,000 memes, but there's like a richness to that obviously doesn't come through when you swipe right or left.
True that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because it's like a depth of emotion because it's like they say you can't, there's no way for me to tell you when you know that you're in love. you will
Yes.
just know, right? And you'll just feel it, right?
And yet, like we were just talking about dating apps, right? Like dating apps work because it's a check the box thing. So if you are
right?
if in our minds, and I've been this person, I spent years to like unbind from this because it never actually served. I don't know who it serves. It doesn't serve me. But if our mentality is a check the box, like, oh, we like hiking. I like this. I like that. Like, our personality-based preferences, then your love is going to be personality deep. That has been my experience, which is why I went through these many processes, right? Like,
but I think, I agree with that because it's a matter of, let's put it this way, like it's also just how we even interact with art itself these days, right? Because it's this idea that there are so many choices. So when I went to university, I took English literature and psychology, but for my psychology degree, I had to do a thesis. I had a thesis on intra versus interracial relationships.
Right.
So I did a study on like first year students. Some like my sister's friends even remember me like coming to their class and being like, I need people for my studies. Yeah. So I had to pick models to measure levels of attachment between couples. Okay. So that I would basically compare couples that were like dating someone of their own race and couples that were dating someone outside of their race. Okay. To compare things like level of commitment, level of novelty, all that kind of stuff. Right. So one of the models is perception of replacement partners. Okay. Dating apps, I feel, but this was before dating apps really were the rage. Yes. But I feel like what's happened with dating apps is that now people have a heightened perception of replacement partners.
What does that mean?
In the sense of, if this doesn't work, this relationship doesn't work, I can just leave it because there's going to be 5 other people I can mess with, right? So you have this perception of like, oh, I don't have to tough it through tough times. I don't have to work this out. I don't have to like work on myself because if I just like let this relationship go, I can replace this person very easily.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting. There's a model to it. So I think that like it's a false sense of it. Yeah. But dating apps make it seem like there's this big pool of people that exist. And so if, let's say, this individual I'm dating right now does not fulfill all my check boxes, no worries. I'm just going to go out and like find someone who does. And so I think that's a little bit of like something that's happened.
That is an interesting notion. Yeah. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I know. That's a thing, right? And then also, too, when I was looking through, like, psychology, like, models on how to even, like, test these things, it's like you have to judge, like, what your models, like, what you want to use as well in terms of, like, novelty. And so what I found in my study was that between inter and intraracial couples is that no real difference in terms of, like, attachment. But I did find that, like, more likelihood to have kids if you're going to date within your race.
Okay.
Heightened sexual novelty when you're dating outside of your race.
Sure.
They have like more passion between those couples.
Exotic, I guess.
Yeah. And also like they're also risk take. They're willing to date outside of their culture.
Right.
And so there's they're willing to try new things, be experimental, like be more of that in their personality. But perception of replacement partners is also higher in dating outside of your race.
Yeah, of course.
Right, because.
Now there's more choice.
So you're less committed, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting, and yet I find it unnecessarily cerebral. Like to me, when I'm going on a date, I want to feel.
Of course, yeah.
Right? I want to feel whatever, like repulsion. Not that I want to feel repulsion, but I am. Okay, I'll say it like this. I am very connected with my feelings, and like. Many people are, and then many people of both genders are not for whatever reason. So if you're a checklist person, maybe your soulmate is another checklist person. But if you right, and like you might have like that's work on compatibility and all of that. I think the problem happens when like a feeling like emotive person is then across the table with a checklist person. Then it's like super like annoying maybe for both parties.
Yes.
So I'm someone who's like, I have no idea who you are. You are a literal stranger off the internet. So primarily I want to feel physically and then also emotionally and mentally safe. When that has been maybe to a degree established, then I want to feel, I don't know, like attracted and attractive. Like I want to impart that feeling, and I also want to feel it myself, right? Obviously, like I want to feel like I'm attractive, but I also want to be attracted to the other person. Like it's kind of like what you give is what you get type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing that the last few dates I went on, it's very much like checklisty. I'm across the table from someone. And it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I can't meet the person there.
Yeah.
And so I find that, and I'm like, oh, and I have been across the table from someone who's like really emotive, but doesn't have a level of maturity to then articulate said emotion.
That's
like,
that's a good,
you have mother problems because you've like talked about your mother for 10 minutes. And like that, like, so there's like, that was like one time. It's one particular example.
But I feel like that's you, I think naturally though, pick up on all this unsaid stuff.
Yes. I'm also in Priestess
and can
school.
hear all this
and
stuff
like,
that like,
I do this.
they're saying one thing, but you're hearing like all this other stuff.
I do. It is a problem.
I can already kind of envision like
yeah.
what's kind of going on there. But
I know.
then likely you probably want another wizard. But then like how does one find?
I'm gonna go. I don't know. You know what? This is the funny thing. Some part of me knows that my person is not on a dating app. They're in wizard school, just like I'm in priestess school,
True.
right? But and
or
yet,
no, I think that they probably are. But like. You guys are probably not using the right things to even really connect.
Yeah, maybe. We're just solving my love problems here, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Like, I mean, it's so interesting because I've been married for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But me and Kevin met at the gym, right?
Yes.
So I first moved to Toronto like way back and like worked at a gym. And like I remember when Kevin was first hired, because I always have a sense about things. My friends have always told me this. Like when I know what I want, I will just go get it.
Yeah.
So
Venus and Aries.
Yeah,
people.
I'm like, if a guy is cute, I'll go and tell you you're cute. And like, I prefer to be the aggressor.
Yeah.
Because,
well, and he's Venus and Libra. Sorry.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, he is Venus and Libra.
He is Venus and Libra. And like, so like, if Aries is fiery, like Libra is, like, if Aries is yang, then Libra is more yin, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So like, which is also an interesting dynamic.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but when we first met, they hired him at the gym. And I remember talking to the other girls. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the new trainer they hired, he's so cute. And then I remember my friend Erica, she's like, he is, but you know, he's too sexual. He's like, because Kevin just gives off this vibe, but I do that. I do too, though. So I looked at her. I'm like,
yeah.
What? I'm like,
that's so funny.
I'm like, is this a
that
problem?
is not the vibe I get off of him at all.
Kevin
so many years later.
Yeah, but like we were babies at the time. He was 21, right?
Right,
and
course.
I was 23, and I was just like, okay. I'm like, I don't see the problem with
I don't see the problem
so
with
like
that.
whatever. And because we also, when me and Kevin first met, like he was turning 21, and I remember he invited me over, and then I remember texting my sister, being like, I'm going over to this guy's house for his birthday. Give me some advice. And she's like, what was it? No one